On July 1st, the federal government stopped lending law students the full cost of law school. There is now a cap. You can borrow a maximum of $50,000 a year for a JD. That is the ceiling. And Grad Plus, the program that used to cover whatever was left, is now gone for new borrowers. Now, the average law school costs about $82,000 a year once you count tuition, fees, and actually living somewhere. So there is a gap, call it $30,000 a year, that the federal government used to lend you and now won't. Over 3 years, that's roughly $90,000 you've got to cover with scholarship money, family money, or a private lender who's going to pull your credit report. Which means a law school scholarship is no longer a nice discount on a loan you were getting anyway, it is the funding. Now, here's the part that sounds counterintuitive. Some people might even say impossible. The same gap opened up in a year when law schools are handing out more free money than they ever have. At one law school I'm going to name in a few minutes, the share of students paying full price went from 76% to under 5% in 10 years, while that school's LSAT median jumped up 13 points. So law school's harder to get into. Almost nobody's paying sticker. The same school in this same decade. Both of those things are true at the same time, and they're true for a reason that has nothing to do with how good an applicant you are. It comes down to one number that's published for free and that almost nobody reads. Now, I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005. I'm going to walk you through this now live. So first thing you should know is that yes, law school admissions did get harder. In fall 2015, there were only 5 law schools in America with an LSAT median of 170 or higher, 5 in the whole country. This past fall, there were 28 law schools with an LSAT median of 170 or higher, according to the official ABA disclosures. If you drop down a tier in 2015, 49 law schools had an LSAT median of 160 or above. This past fall, 91 did. And that again is in the ABA 509 filings. Now here's what should give you some pause. Compared to 2015, every ABA approved law school in the country except 4 has raised its LSAT median. Almost all of them by an average of 5 points. So if you looked up a school's median on a forum thread from a few years back and filed it away as your safety, you should know that your information is out of date. That school has moved on you. Now let's talk about the current cycle. LSAC is reporting about 82,000 applicants for the past enrollment year, up 8% over last year and up 28% over 2 years ago. Now, first-year enrollment across every ABA law school went from about 37,800 to about 42,800, up 13%. So applicants up 28%, seats up 13%. The pool grew more than twice as fast as the size of the room. Now, before I go further, I want to be straight about the baseline because every comparison I just made runs from 2015, and 2015 was the bottom. At that point, applications have been falling for 5 straight years. Law schools were begging. It was the easiest year to get into law school in modern memory. So that cuts both ways. It makes the everything got harder number look bigger than it feels, but it also means the floor fell out and never came back up. Now, law school also got cheaper at the same time. So I want to do this honestly. I picked the schools by their 2015 medians and then followed those same schools forward. So I'm not quietly selecting the winners and then announcing that they won. Take the 21 law schools that had a median of 165 or higher back in 2015. Today, that group's median sits at 172. In 2015, 38% of their students paid full price with no grant at all. Last fall, it was 29%. Students getting a scholarship worth full tuition or more went from 3.3% of enrollment to 5.2% of enrollment. Now let's look at the tier underneath. The 45 schools that sat at a 158 to 164 median in 2015, now at a 165 median. Full price students there went from 30% of students down to 13%, less than half. Full tuition or better went from 5.8% to about 9%. So put simply, at the schools that got measurably harder to get into, the share of people paying sticker price fell off a cliff. Now, here is the mechanism. US News ranks law schools, and the input schools can most directly control is their median LSAT. Now, a median is not an average. What you do to get a median is you line up every admitted student by score. The median is the score in the middle of that line. Half the class is at or above it, half is at or below it. Now, what people get wrong is thinking a school buys its median one student at a time. Of course, there are plenty of students that share the same score, so swapping one person doesn't usually move the reported number. What a median is, from the dean's perspective, is a threshold with a head count attached. If a school wants to report a 168 median, they've got to have at least half their class at 168 or better every single year. And so the school's entire scholarship budget is aimed at one question: how do they fill half of the class? Which tells you where the money is. Above the line, you are the thing being purchased. Below the line, you're the thing being paid for. Same application, same person. The school's checkbook will open or close for you depending on which side of that specific number you land on. Now, you could say if the average school's median went up 5 points, then a 166 that used to buy you money now buys you nothing. The bar moved. Now, your score in the abstract is worth less than it was in 2015. That's what I mean when I say medians went up everywhere. But your score is not anything in the abstract. It's worth something against one school's specific number. And those numbers are published, and they're all different. A 168 is below the line at 28 schools and comfortably above it at about 60 more. And if a bigger applicant pools means schools could stop paying, you'd see generosity dropping right now during the biggest applicant surge in 15 years. But at the top tier, it's still climbing. Full tuition or better awards there went from 4.2% of students in 2023 to 5.2% last fall, straight through the surge. Now, that group peaked at 10.3% in 2023 and slipped to 9.2% last fall at the tier below. And so the money is still moving toward the top and away from the middle. Now, Texas A&M is a unique example. In 2015, they had an LSAT median of 156 and about 700 students. 76% of them paid full price. Only 3% had a scholarship covering full tuition or more. But this past fall, their median was a 169. They jumped up 13 points, and them, along with University of Florida, those are the two biggest median increases in the entire country. Now, their student body now is about 394 students. They cut the school roughly in half, which is an important consideration in determining how exactly they raise their median. But students paying full price went from 76% down to under 5%. Students with full tuition or better went from 3% up to nearly 25%. So 1 in 4 students at Texas A&M has their tuition fully covered. Non-resident tuition there is about $48,500, and so over 3 years, that award is worth roughly $145,000. Their acceptance rate is now 12%. University of Florida did the same thing. Their median LSAT went from 157 to 169. Full price payers went from 37% down to 12%. And the share getting full tuition or more went from 1.5% up to 35%, better than 1 in 3. Now, one caveat on Florida I should mention is that their in-state tuition is about $19,000. So it's a lot easier for them to give full tuition to a student who's already paying so little than writing one that exceeds $70,000, like a private top-tier university. Cheaper tuition makes the generosity look bigger than it actually is. Now, there are some places where the money is not. The idea that law school got cheaper is only true at some schools. And you could argue that some schools just inflate their sticker price and then call the discount a scholarship, and that does happen. For example, at Emory, their tuition went from $51,000 in 2015 up to about $70,000 last fall, up 35%, and the share of students paying full price fell from 18% to under 2%, meaning nearly everybody gets a discount on a price that went up 35%. USC, their tuition went from $58,000 to about $84,000, up 45%, and the share of USC students getting full tuition or better actually went down over that decade from 2.1% down to 1.3%. Vanderbilt, their tuition went up to about $76,500, and the share paying full price went up from 6.9% up to 10.3%. Compare that to WashU, which posted the highest LSAT median in the country last fall at 175. About 21% of WashU students have full tuition or more covered on a $73,000 sticker price. Over 3 years, that's worth about $218,000 at a private school with no tuition cap protecting anybody. And so the real thing that we should think about is not that law school got cheaper, it's that a handful of schools are actively buying their positions and writing enormous checks to do it, while schools that already own their positions raise the price and then hand out coupons. And you can tell which is which by reading a free document published by the American Bar Association called the 509 Report. It's a disclosure posted on the ABA's required disclosure site. You could and should pull it for every school on your list. And there are 3 things you want to look at. First, the median LSAT and median GPA, the grant table, which shows how many students got nothing, how many got less than half tuition, and how many got full tuition or more. If almost everybody's in the less than half tuition band, that means the school is handing out coupons. You also want to look at the conditional scholarship table. That is on the same form. Most people don't pay much attention to it. It tells you how many students received conditional scholarships and how many of them had those reduced or eliminated. That matters more than it used to. A conditional scholarship is one you keep only by hitting a GPA in law school, and how many people lose it varies enormously by school. Some set the line low and almost everybody keeps it. Some don't. Before this year, losing one in your second year meant you had to borrow the difference through Grad Plus loans. But that backstop is gone now. If you lose a conditional award in 2027, you've got to find a private lender in the middle of law school. One more thing on the medians. Those are a trailing metric from last year's entering class. You want to assume schools are targeting to get at least 1 point higher above whatever median they just published. So treat the published number as being the floor since they want to raise it over time. Now, when it comes to admissions, you want to look at your gap between where you're at and the medians of the schools that you're targeting. If you're above their medians, you're in the running for scholarship money. If you're below it, might be a long shot just to get in. Those are different problems, consider them differently. And if you end up with offers from multiple schools, tell each one what the other one's offered. If a school is fighting for a median that you can help move and raise, then they might give you scholarship money to help them raise their standing in the rankings. And if you want my help getting your LSAT score up, getting into better law schools, getting more scholarship money, I'm happy to help you out. I'm offering free LSAT tutoring for everybody watching this now or later. You can book that free tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG. I've also put together a free LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep. It's a quick reference PDF on everything logical reasoning and reading comprehension. You can grab that as well in the link below, pinned in the chat, in my bio as well. Happy to help you out with some free resources. Now, for those who haven't been tracking things, this is the most competitive law school cycle in over a decade, and most applicants have no idea how much the ground just moved under them. Last cycle, applications were up 18% and applications up more than 20%, according to the LSAC. This cycle's up even more. And so a crowd like this affects the strength of your application and the one thing you still control when your application shows up. Now, I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005. I've watched application volumes swing up and down more than once, and the pattern's always the same. Here's what a surge really means. The number of seats at a law school is basically fixed. A school that took a class of 250 last year probably wants to take about 250 this year. And so when applications jump up 20, 25% or more, every seat has more people reaching for a limited number of seats. It's like a game of musical chairs. A file that was a comfortable yes 2 years ago might be a maybe now. The same maybe becomes a no. Nothing about you necessarily changed, but it's the competition around you that changed. And it's not spread evenly. Some regions are getting hit harder than others. Applications in the Mountain West are up about 46%. New England's up about 27%. And at the top of the market, every T14 law school now has a median LSAT between 170 and 174. A 165 LSAT sits below every single T14 LSAT median. And when volume surges, the bar rises. If anything, extra applicants push them up because the school can afford to be pickier. Now, for any law school that you're targeting, you want to pull their median LSAT from the American Bar Association 509 disclosure, then put your own score next to it. If your school is at or above the median, you're in a strong spot even in a crowded year. You might even be in the running for scholarship money because schools use money to lock in applicants who prop up their numbers. If you're a few points below the median, then the gap is going to hurt you and it might be a stretch just to get in. If you're well below, then of course you're a bit of a long shot. You want to have some other schools in your application pool just in case, some safety schools as well, cast a wider net. Now, you should also know that in a crowded year, rolling admissions, applying early matters more. That means that schools read files and hand out seats in the order in which they receive the applications, not all at once. And earlier in the cycle, there's more scholarship money available. When you're applying early, there's more seats available, more money available. If you're a late applicant, it's slim pickings. And of course, it's still better to apply later with a higher LSAT score than earlier with a lower score. So don't be afraid to apply a month or two later than otherwise if you need the time to get your LSAT score up. But if you're watching this in late July or early August, there's still time to take the LSAT this fall and apply this calendar year. The real risk is complacency and assuming that what got you in 2 years ago or 5 years ago will get you in today because the numbers have changed, the medians have risen. Every year, law schools are looking to raise their medians, and so assume that they want to be 1 point higher than where they are right now. Look at where you are compared to the medians, then add +1 since the medians rise at least a point or two every single year. And if you want my help getting your LSAT score up, getting into better law schools, getting more scholarship money, again, I'm happy to help. You can book a free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. Links below, pinned in the chat in my bio as well. I've also put together a free LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep. It's a quick reference PDF on everything logical reasoning and reading comprehension. You can grab that PDF at unpluggedprep.com/cheat sheet. In the meantime, all the best. Take care. Thanks for joining.